Hello everybody, and welcome to Amateur Cast, where you're getting your replays to be casted for my entertainment, and hopefully to help you improve a little bit as well. I'm your host, ZookaMan, and we're going to be going into a ZVT. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our players. On the bottom left-hand side of the map, Frost, we have theWalrus spawning in as the red Terran player. As opponent on the opposite side of the map, we see Tobi as the blue Zerg, and for once, having names that are really simple to pronounce. Always a great thing to see. So the ZVT matchup. What goes on in the ZVT matchup? Well, from the Zerg side of things, there are multiple tech paths you can do. I have been seeing a lot of earlier pulls into quicker hatcheries, and just to get Zerglings up for a little bit of defense. Also, I have seen a little bit of pull and gas to get a little bit of damage done to an opponent going a little bit greedy, which was, I believe, last game I casted, or the game before that. Go ahead and go check that out. On the Terran side of things, I kind of been seeing a little bit of stuff coming out from them. Obviously, the standard barracks and gas. My best guess, we're probably going to be seeing Reaper expand. I don't really see a need for anything else, especially as he hasn't really grabbed gas too early, and it looks like he's actually going to be going for a CC first, which is a bit greedier. And with the Zerg player going to be getting up onto his spawning pool and gas, he's going to be able to get some Zerglings out in a little bit here and punish the earlier CC here, because there isn't really going to be a barracks up by the time the Zerglings move out across the map. Which means that those Zerglings are going to be able to do a little bit of damage. Now, how much is kind of dependent upon how quickly we see the ring coming out from our Terran player, and exactly how quickly we see them Zerglings moving out across the map from Tobi. Where am I seeing him going for his Zerglings now is going to be scouting out with an Overlord overhead. But it doesn't look like he's going to be doing a whole lot of damage here. Just wants to see if he can stop the natural expansion, and he probably will. Might be able to get into the main base as well, and get a little bit of SCV kills as long as we don't see a wall life complete. And I think that that's probably going to happen right about now. Right about now. So he's going to go for the second CC before closing up on the wall, which is a little bit curious. Back on from the Terran, or from the Zerg player, we are going to be seeing a Baneling nest following up, which means that he's going to be going up into a aggressive push here, moving into the mid game. But first and foremost, he's going to be able to move out, get a little bit of damage done. Is going to force the cancel and bunker. Is going to get an SCV. I don't really see them getting the command center. They might be able to lift it off, but I don't think that they will actually get it. Yeah, even since SCV is going to be pulled in with the Marines to kind of make sure that those stay away. Something important to point out here, folks, we do not see metabolic boost coming out on the map, which means it is going to be delayed for the quicker Baneling nest. And while I like the fact that he's going up on the Baneling nest, I do disagree with the fact that he's kind of rushing it at this point, with no real follow-up. That's why you always want to grab metabolic boost before you go up onto your Baneling nest, just because it's a little bit more safe. Now, it's of course saying that our Zerg player doesn't go for just pure Banelings. I very sincerely doubt that, as it's not necessarily the best. You want to put some Zerglings in there to be able to get a little bit of DPS out as well. But looks like we're going to be seeing the Baneling bus with no metabolic boost back home. No workers really back home at all either. But you're going to be seeing the Banelings moving in. They are going to be splashing up onto the bunker. But essentially that's going to be it. They're going to not really get anything more than that. But the Zerglings are going to be able to get in and kill a few SCVs. Are going to be, of course, able to stop the natural expansion. So definitely I think is going to be worth it for a Zerg player. What I'd like to see from him is the third base coming down. I'd also like to see metabolic boost coming down as well. And after that, I'd love to see him just keep droning up until he has, at the very least, his second base saturation. Because he has forced his opponent up onto one base again for the time being. And he's really not going to be able to get too much more damage done here. And now he's going to recognize that and is going to fall back accordingly. Meanwhile, we're seeing the Terran player going up onto siege tanks. Wood mines could have worked as well. I think siege tanks are a little bit more, a little bit better in this circumstance. But we're going to be seeing Tobi going up onto his roach deck. He's going to be grabbing his double gases. Still love to see him take that third base. He's going to get a little bit of fly blocks here as well, which is going to be a tad bit unfortunate for him in the long run. Meanwhile, we're going to be seeing an additional CC added on for the Walrus back home. Additional couple of CCs, actually, which means that we probably will be seeing a third base in the near future. As I can't really see the need to drop down multiple CCs besides that reason. Meanwhile, back home, Tobi is going to be going up onto layer tech. He's about a quarter of the way done at this point. He's going to be going up onto double upgrades as well. Still love to see that third base taken just so that he's able to keep up with his gas production just a little bit better, so that he's able to produce the tech that he wants as well as the upgrades that he wants behind them. The reason we gnawing away at the rocks over here just to make sure that no choke point comes up in the favor of the Zerg or the Terran player. Off into the mid and late game. Metabolic boost finally coming up from Tobi back home, which is a little bit of a blunder. I like that he's getting it, but I feel like the timing that he's getting it is a little bit too late. Optimally, I would have liked to see it earlier when he was doing the Bangling bust. However, that is not what we're going to be seeing. We're going to be seeing him going up in Metabolic boost now. We're going to be seeing him going up into +1/+1. Meanwhile, the Walrus can be going up onto double factories here with double armors, which makes me think that he's going to start to transition off into mech play. However, our Zerg player back home does have a Spire coming up, which means that we are going to be seeing mutas coming up on the map. Which, depending on what we see from the Walrus, might be very good or very bad for him. We'll have to see exactly what that goes for him. We do have +1/+1 coming up for the vehicles and ships from our Terran player. It's going to be going up onto Thors and Hellbats. I kind of feel like Hellions would have been a better idea because, well, I suppose the Hellbats are a better idea because of the fact that we're going to be seeing roaches and, well, he has a roach horn. I'm not sure if he's going to be building roaches. I would have to say if he's building roaches, keep up with the Hellbats. If he's going to keep up onto the high mounts of Zerglings, I would definitely agree with Hellions a little bit more. But he picks up transformation cells. That's not too big of a deal. Centrifugal Hook can be added on as well. A little bit late for that as well, because it probably would have been a better suited for the mid-game push that happened a little bit ago. But, once again, a little bit of a better late than never scenario. Terra player is going to be up onto his third base. He's going to be going for a planetary there with a couple of missile turrets to help defend it. Problem is, once a large amount of needles hit the map, the two missile turrets aren't going to be able to defend the planetary. Tobi is going to be having a lot of gas banked up here. I really feel like he should just produce 8 mutas and kind of bring that down at this point. That is a really high number. 76 to 54 harvesters in favor of our Zerg player at this point. That's not really too much of a surprise, seeing as he's going up onto his 4th base at this point with a 3 base saturation. I believe close to 4th base saturation. Yep, and it looks like he's going to be grabbing his gases as well. So yeah, that's definitely going to be adding up rather fast. Terran player is going to be continuing up onto his mech play. It looks like he's going to be going for a little bit more heavy siege tank Thor, with a few Hellbats just going to be splashed in there, which I most definitely do agree with. Zerg player back home is going to be going up onto his infestation pit. Going to be dropping down a couple of macro hatcheries as well, just to help keep that bank low. We do have 10 mutas on the way. which, depending on if the Thors are in position, might be able to do a little bit of damage. Fourth base is established up here for the Terran player. He's going to be going up for a wall off here, which I kind of like. I wish it was a little bit more barracks as opposed to supply depots, because 1 or 2 paintings will destroy a supply depot. I actually think it's 3 to destroy a supply depot, but it's like 5 or 6 in order to kill a barracks, which is a large number when you're using that defense. We're going to be seeing an additional base, a 6th base coming up from Tobi at this point, which is a little bit curious, as he doesn't really have the drones to support it. Because once he goes up onto that base, he'll probably be... Well, he still needs to saturate the base down here a little bit more. But once he saturates that and saturates the 6th base, he'll probably be on 80 to 85 lowest harvesters, which isn't necessarily where he wants to be. You don't want to be at 85. You usually want to be around 80 in the ZVT matchup. I can't really see you doing anything more than 80, because it just starts building into your army, and you need that, especially against a mech style opponent whose army is just going to be so powerful, and it's going to be all in the army that you do have. We do have 2-2 coming up from our Terran player, going to be going for that Thatcher, not Hatchery, Hive. She's now finishing up from Tobi back home. We're going to be seeing an additional spire laid down as well, probably to get the double upgrades. That would be my best guess. There's no really other reason why he would do that. A couple of additional command centers coming up for the Walrus, probably just for the mealing capabilities / scanning capabilities, or planetaries, or he could also be trying to expand, which is always also a possibility at this point. These 4 CCs coming out, that's just crazy, but it's kind of helping to keep his bank low. Looking over at the army, we're going to be seeing, fairly siege tank, and actually just fairly siege tank heavily in general. It does have the Hellbats as well, and is sprinkled with a couple of Thors to make sure that the Mutalisks aren't able to... Holy, lots of Mutalisks. I missed the 40 Mutalisks being made. They're coming up over here into this 4th base, where there really isn't a whole lot to defend against it, except for a few Thors. Oh my gosh! Thor's got a few shots off on the Mutas, and the Mutas just took so much damage. However, the Mutas are going to be able to get a lot of damage done here. Going to be sniping both Thors, going to be sniping the Vikings, going to be pretty much sniping any anti-air that they want to at this point. And they might be forced back a little bit here, but they are going to be getting a lot of damage done. And there really isn't a lot... There isn't enough missile turret spread to really deal with this. However, we are going to be seeing the effects of the aggression from Tobi, jumping up to 4K minerals at this point. He's going to be remacking with 22 Mutalisks, but definitely needs to see something to balance out his mineral count, as he's getting fairly high. I suggest more macro hatcheries, or going to be adding in some Zerglings to kind of balance that out as well, as it's a really large bank in the gas. It's just not, or in the deficit in the gas. That's what I want to say. So we're going to be seeing additional Thors coming up into the army, which I very much agree with from the Terran player, because Thors are very good against Mutalisks when they're in their anti-air mode. So we're going to have a lot of Zerglings just going to kind of stream off to their death there. Not really achieving much of anything except for a mineral dump from our Zerg player. We're going to be seeing the Walrus move out with a few SCVs in the army as well to repair a bit. Creep spread is outside of his base, which I must commend. There is a pretty good creep spread here, but that's not really going to help a whole lot against the mech army that's coming against him, as really creep doesn't really fight very well. We do see Ravens added onto this army, very standard in the tech department. Tobi going to be going up onto 2-2 in the air. We do have that high sec auto tracking, which helps the Ravens with their... Oh, it's with the Ravens range as well as the missile turrets, I believe. And the point defense drones as well as the seeker missiles. I believe that's what that does. But I might be wrong. I have been wrong in the past, believe it or not. 7th base is coming up from Tobi right now. I can't really think that he's going to be using this for minerals. Probably going to be using it for a gas expansion, as that's kind of what he's doing for this expansion up here. Which means that I think he's going to just kind of keep up with the Mulus production, which I kind of disagree with in a mech style of play. Mutas are not exactly the best unit against mech, because of the fact that a lot of mech is really kind of good against air units that clump up a lot, especially the Ravens with their point or sinker missiles. We're going to be seeing a Mutalisk just going to kind of, you know, kill the base over here. I can't even select on the command center to see how much damage it does done. That's how fast it died, and how many Mutalisks there were. We're seeing a few point defense turrets going off into the army. Oh my gosh! So much damage! So many Mutalisks are just gonna go down there! Holy mother of God! And that's, my friends, is why Mutalisks are just not very good against mech. Jeez, that was a lot of Mutalisks. That had been at least 30 to 40 Mutalisks just dying in those two Hunter-Seeker missiles. So definitely very good from our Terran side of the field. We do see 3 armor going to be added on for the ship and vehicles at this point. Probably going to be seeing 3 for his weapons as well fairly shortly here from our Terran player. We do see Greater Spire coming up. We do have Ultralisk coming out as well. So definitely going to be seeing a little bit of a tech switch here. I don't necessarily agree with the Broodlords very much, and I'll tell you why. We have Hunter-Seeker missiles on the field. We have the Thors on the field, and we do have quite a bit of Hellbats in order to roast away the broodlings. Maybe Vipers? I don't think Vipers actually need a Greater Spire. So Broodlords I definitely agree with. Not Hunter-Seeker missiles. Ultralisk Cavern I definitely do kind of like. It is pretty good against some forms of mech. However, this is a large maxed out mech army coming up from our Terran player, and the Zerglings are going to be losing a lot of Zerglings there to just kind of moving them, which didn't really work out that well in his favor. And now he sees that the Terran player is going to be moving out here, going to be taking out the creep that he has so spread. And we're probably going to be seeing him march up into the 3rd base here. We do have a little bit of a Hellbats coming over here into this base over here, while we push up in the natural expansion with the main army, and pulling back the Mutalisk to be able to deal with that, which was really his army. So that's kind of curious to see him do that. Even going to be saving his expansions over the natural back home, because I'm not exactly sure what his entire plan is there. He can't engage the army directly with his Mutalisks, but he can go back home and force his opponent back to his 3rd, for example, or his 4th, and gets a little bit of damage done. Mules are going to be doing exactly that, going up towards that 3rd base. However, there are going to be a couple of Widowmine shots going to be going off on to the Mutalisks, which are going to clean them up, and the missile turrets are going to be able to do a little bit of damage, might be able to take out the rest. Yes, indeed, that is exactly what we're going to be seeing. Meanwhile, the main army is pushing into the natural expansion. We already took out the 3rd. Sieging up his tanks now. Going to be doing a lot of DPS to the hatchery. Holy mother of DPS. Tobi falling below 100 supply. And he's not looking too good at this point. Going to be continuing with his Mutalisk production, which is definitely not what he needs. Honestly, I would say probably transition off into roaches. But at this point, it really doesn't matter, as he doesn't really have the production to do that. With the mech army going up into his main base, even trying to keep the Mutalisk alive and do a little bit of damage, but really not going to be able to do it, or at least not on the degree that he needs to. So I think that probably the Walrus is going to be able to, at the very least, clean out the natural expansion, the main base, and the third base, which is a huge amount of damage done. Going to be killing a lot of the tech in the back of the main base as well, which is going to definitely put him into a good position here. Essentially a winning position, because there isn't really a whole lot of units up from Tobi at this point. He is going to be going to continue to kind of straw this out, getting additional bases, but really I don't see him being able to win this by the time the mech army moves around the map and is able to take out the rest of his army and the rest of his buildings. Not really at all. We're seeing the Ravens coming up over here into the now main base, I guess. And it's going to be able to pretty much clean that up. Very slowly, mind you, but they are probably be able to clean it up. Yes, indeed. Hatchery is going to fall actually very fast. Auto Turret's going to be doing quite a bit of DPS here. Tobi going to be rebuilding his spawning pool, but honestly, at this point, I really don't think there's much he can do to win. His mutants have been effectively countered, and that's really his only, would have only been his only ace card in this game. And yeah, he's going to be able to get a couple turrets, but there are widow mines placed throughout the bases that are really going to be able to defend against anything that the mutants try to do. And there goes the GG. Tobi realizing that he's not really able to do the damage that he needs to. So what can we learn from this game, guys? Well, first and foremost, both players having a little bit of problem with their bank, but towards the late game, that's a little bit more difficult to deal with, especially once you're getting maxed out an army, and especially when you're kind of winning the engagements and not really losing a whole lot of units, so you really can't produce much. I'm going to start off with the Zerg player, as he was defeated in this game. First and foremost, he had a big problem once the Thors and the Ravens came on the map, losing, like, I believe it was 30 to 40, it might have been up to 50 at that point, Mutalists in that 1 or 2 Hunter Seeker missiles, which was really able to thin him out. At that point, I think the Zerg player really could have transitioned out of the Mutalists, because, hey, the Mutalists just got completely destroyed. There wasn't really much that they could do at that point, and you could argue that yeah, he could go around and try to get a couple of bases, but as we saw, the Terran player did put some widow mines up to be able to defend against that, so he wasn't really able to do the damage with the Mutalists that he needed to do. And that's one of the big problems with mass Mutalists against mech, and that's one of the reasons why, from what I've seen of the composition, it's not necessarily the best thing. I would definitely suggest to the player to work on transitioning out of that into something else, because Zerg is a very versatile matchup. You really, or a very versatile race. You want to be able to switch. The detect switch is what's important about your race, because you can switch almost instantaneously from producing a lot of Mutalists into, say, Ultralists. At that point, you already had the Ultralist covering up, and you were able to transition into that, which might have worked out a little bit better for you. The problem is that the Ravens were on the map, which means that they were going to be able to do a little bit more damage. At that point. But definitely use your check switches. That's one of the big parts of the race. From the Terran side of things, I really like the composition. I really like how he was able to deal with the Mutalists, because that was the biggest problem for him to overcome in this game, really, I think. Besides overcoming a little bit of that early game aggression where he was forced to take out his natural expansion. Or, excuse me, lift it up. So, from him, definitely what I would have to say, work on your bank a little bit. That's one thing I do suggest to a lot of players, especially towards the later game. I want to put down barracks and stuff like that. But you did fairly well during the game, so it's not really that big of a deal. I do like the composition. You kept up on your upgrades really well. Composition was pretty good against what you saw. You could use probably a little bit more production facilities, but besides that, and keeping your bank a little bit low, and possibly putting in a little bit more expansions, golden. Alright, folks, that's, I think, going to be it for this replay. If you enjoyed it, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, share, and all that jazz. You guys have already heard from me about 18 times now. I believe that's going to be it, folks. So, this is ZookaMan, and we'll see you on the next cast.